How y'all doing out there? My name is Prevail, CEO and founder of Promised Land Records. That's right, and I got great news for you. I got a new album called Something to Live For that is on the way. In these trying times, we all need to be reminded that we have something to live for, no matter what you're faced with, no matter what you're experiencing. That's right. So we got great music on here, we got great collaborations, and we want you guys to be supportive and be a part of what we're building for God. So we'll leave the information at the end of this commercial, and we want you guys to just follow the links and follow me at Prevail the Artist, as well as my Instagram, Prevail the Artist, so that you guys can get all of the great music that we're about to put out. Y'all have a great day, and remember, God loves you.
Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. It's good. Oh man, I'll run y'all out of here if I start singing.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Big T, and we are tuned in on today to another episode of Sunday Night Live on IamBigT.net, and we want to welcome our TV audience. On today, we have a panel with us on tonight. Go ahead and introduce yourself on tonight, starting with Mr. Eric.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Eric Jones, I'm newly elected OPTEC representative of District E, and actually running for school board in the same district. Thank you for having me.
How y'all doing out there? My name is Henry Love, also known as Prevail, CEO and founder of Promised Land Records. And I'm just out here to be a part of what God is doing. So hope y'all have a great day.
Hey, this is the Reverend Alfred Rock. Everybody know me as Coach Al Rock. Been 30 years in New Orleans Recreation Department, mentoring kids. Also a member of the NAACP. And just always in the city helping the kids out.
Hello, I'm Tashara Gray, the owner of Gray's Tax Express, and I am here to be a voice for the very community that I live in and serve a purpose in.
And listen, before we get started on today, we want to thank our sponsors that supports our network, that supports our TV show. We'd like to thank Arrows for being a sponsor. We would like to thank Ms. Vanessa J. Ross for being a sponsor. We'd like to thank Ms. Tammy Jenkins for being a sponsor. Also, Bayou Bistro and Montreal Hall, and we would like to thank you guys for supporting IamBigT.net. Well, let's get into it on tonight, you guys. We're here to talk about our community, to talk about our kids, to see what we can do to try to help our community, and to find out why our kids are so angry. So we're going to start with Mr. Eric on tonight, man. You are a part of the school board. You're doing a lot of things in the community. Talk about some of the things that you see in the schools.
Well, we could probably be here all night when we speak about what the system is doing and what voices are being heard in our children versus probably not being heard. I think when we look at what I call the separation of states, that means that the charter world, which was the reform educators, you had the traditional public school system, which was the public education school system, which was NOLA, or New Orleans Public Schools. So when you took a look at what happened to 5,000 plus teachers during Katrina that was removed from the system, was told that they abandoned their post based on Katrina. And then when you look at the reformers who came in terms of what they were going to do and what they had promised, all of our kids were going to go to college and they were going to accelerate leaps and bounds. So what has happened at this point was we took, and parents believed this because the whole irony about this was that parents believed, because they went everywhere across the state, everywhere across this country, where school districts were saying that our kids were behind and they were failing and they weren't learning anything. Well, when the reformers came here, they promised them the collegiate, they were all going to go to college, they were all going to do this stuff. Well, parents believed that. But what we did look at is, back then, the percentage of children graduating from high school was higher than it is today. Percentage of kids not dropping out of school were lower than it is today. So when we look at what was happening to great teachers who, one, lived in the neighborhoods, like you just say, 30 plus years in the community, connected to the children, shopping at the same place they're shopping, going to the same churches, living in the same communities, that was a huge difference. When you got strangers, we call strangers, or foreigners, we call what they called us when we went to other cities, refugees. Which they called us. When you had all of that taking place, and those that did not know the culture of the African American community, didn't understand the culture of the African American neighborhood. And then the other thing was you removed neighborhood schools to community schools. Now we busing children all across the city. That's the number one problem. It's why our kids are co-mingling with different wars and different, whatever they want to call them. You know, if you lived on this side of the West Bank, you say 1.5. When you lived in the night world, you say, I don't mind dying, don't mind doing time. When you lived uptown in the 13, that was another slang. But you mingled, co-mingled all of those children together without giving them any orientation about why. And then trying to co-mingle cultures of neighborhood and housing development. And you wonder why our kids are angry and upset? You took the very thing from them, was the identity of their neighborhoods. And when you did that, what ended up happening, they're trying to co-mingle with now some other culture that people are bringing across the country. and some other ideas and some other mindsets. So now you're telling me that my way of living could be your way of living, and then I'm promising you that every kid that graduates from high school gonna go to an Ivy League college, gonna go to Stanford, gonna go to Yale, gonna go to Princeton, go to Harvard. Well, they don't even know where it's located. And you're upset because our children can't communicate? They can't communicate because the culture's not right. The teachers that were talking to them, speaking to them, 30 plus years of mentoring the kids, them same kids in the park. Also them same kids going to those schools in the neighborhood. So whatever park you coached at, 5 blocks down from the park was the same elementary school they were attending, the same middle school they were attending, the same high school they were attending. Now you just dismantled that. Now you got them playing at St. Rock Park, but they're living all the way in New Orleans East. That doesn't make sense. So when we took and divide the idea about what culture meant and changed the terminology to community to neighborhood, or neighborhood to community, is when we lost our children. We got to get that back. We got to redirect what that looks like, what that feels like, and we all got to come to a sense of that, you know, neighborhoods does matter. Just as culture matters. We talk about Black Lives Matter. I tell people all the time, Black lives can't matter if the black folk can get their lives better. Now, I'm not saying that's something against that. That's not what I'm saying. But if we have the highest crime in the black community, if we have the highest economic efficiency in the black community, if we have the highest number of our kids dropping out and not graduating in our community, it cannot matter until we address the economic impact and education deficiencies in our communities that make sense. Until we identify that that is the issue, or that we need to fix it, or even try to come to some consensus like we're doing tonight, having this type of dialogue, because I don't think our kids are mad. I don't think, that's what we got to understand. I don't even think they're upset. What I think is they're disenfranchised in terms of what's happening, and no one has given them that orientation. Give you a good example, and I'll finish with this. A couple of days ago, we led a fight or a discussion about changing the name of a school that should have been changed, which was Lord Beacon Philandra. Now let me tell you what happened. Before Lord Beacon Philandra changed, listen to me now, they had Oliver Perry Walker already. They also had LB Landry as well. But they shut down Walker to say they couldn't give them any money, they couldn't fix it, they couldn't restore it, they couldn't repair it. But yet there's been a swing school since the duration of the closing of the school. So you took an historical black man, which our children need to understand, and so we're going to shut him down and give a name to a slave master or someone who dealt with Confederacy and said, you know what, y'all need to do this. Same way when I was a little boy going to school, we had to put flowers on John McDonald's grave. They didn't understand why we were doing it. We had to buy flowers, dress up in a white suit, make sure our behavior is right, to put flowers on a slave master's grave. And no one orientated us. So what am I saying? I'm saying when we orientate our children in terms of what is the meaning of someone, a doctor who walked the streets of Algiers, who died saving the life of a child that he was operating on, and you snatch his name? We don't have any freshman orientation in high schools, which I'm demanding now, which I'm calling for a demand, that we must create orientation about the namesake of those schools and about the understanding of schools. We have it in college. You had it, I had it. We had freshman orientation. We knew who the person was, we knew what the university did. We learned the fight song. We learned all those things. We had to learn the code, the mission, the vision, all that stuff we learned. We don't have freshman orientation or freshman studies in high school. Something wrong with that picture. And so we want to know why our kids are upset. We're not educating them or impacting them or empowering them in the way we should. All we're doing is pointing fingers about their behavior, about their actions, and that's it. Until we define who they are and stop defending what they're doing, it's going to change the mindset. Thank you.
Hey, listen, we're going to continue this conversation, but we'll be right back on iambigt.net. And listen, for everybody that's tuning in on iambigt.net, everybody that's tuning in on Facebook, make sure you guys share the broadcast. Let people know that we are live tonight. Also, to our television audience that's tuning in on WWL, make sure you guys grab your kids. Hey, listen, sit them in front of the TV. We want you guys to be able to hear what we are saying on tonight. Listen, don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back on iambigt.net.
to understand why it was built. Historically, it was
Help
built.
us out.
Historically, it was built because only white folk could go to that school.
Correct.
They were coming from Berman High School.
Correct.
And when they needed a middle school or high school, they had to build another school. So what they did, they built Oliver Perry Walker. You could never, but there were only two black schools on the West Bank. You go to Lincoln and Landry Walker. When they closed Lincoln, everybody from Lincoln went to Landry. So that's what happened. So when they put $5 million to give to Oliver Perry Walker in the land bank school. They refused it. See, that's what people don't understand. I've been fighting this fight for a long time.
So
They
it's
refused.
not so much we didn't understand. We were never taught.
Well,
We
so-
said it in the very beginning, and there was no orientation. And I'm telling you, as an
Yeah.
alumni, we never knew. Never. And the reason the school supposedly closed or didn't come back is because one, teachers were gone. And two, because the auditorium was damaged. But schools, Berman has been in Walker, Harriet Tubman has been in Walker, Carl was there for a little while. Schools have been into Walker. That's the swing school. So
And the condition of that, so I'm sorry, the condition of that, those auditoriums like Berman and Landry, listen, Carr School was supposed to be the new school for Walker. So you need to understand.
The
So the new school was to be, the new school was supposed to be the Walker School. It was only going to be one other high school that was built, that was in that landmark. There was 7 schools, 2 schools on the West Bank to be built. Oliver Perry Walker, Lord Beaconsfield Landry. The reason Lord Beaconsfield Landry was built first because they used that place for the National Guard, and the school was, it told, was immaculate. So when they went to close it down, Paul Pratt said, we'll build you one. That's what happened. And then Oliver Perry Walker was the second school. But your boy, who has all the power, Heisman, was the principal at Carr, said, how dare you, and Dackie Clausen, how dare you not give this to Carr? And so because you opted not to stand, the leadership that was in place opted not to stand, so know what they offer? Tell y'all what? We're gonna remove land. We're gonna merge. You don't merge schools, you merge corporations and businesses. Unheard of across the country that you don't merge, but you merge. That's what happened. So we can talk about that all day. All day.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Big T. We are back live on today, and we're talking about the issues that we have going on in our community, especially with our kids. So with COVID-19 going on, and our kids are talking about they want them to go back to school and everything. What are you guys' thoughts concerning that?
For me, you know, I'm kind of skeptical about it because I just feel like, you know, they sort of rushing our people back, or our kids back to school for, you know, reasons unknown. But just, you know, if I had to diagnose it, I would say that it's you know, we're the ones who are being affected by COVID more than any other community, race, ethnic group of people. And so I just feel like, you know, we really have to take a stronger initiative and a stronger approach about caring for our kids and showing them, just standing up for our community. You know, I feel like a lot of times the black community is infiltrated more than any other community because they see that we're disunited. They see that, you know, we say Black Lives Matter all the time, but when you look at the death rate, you look at the murder rate, you know, that's contrary to that particular, you know, message, you know, that we trying to propagate. And so, you know, we just have to, me and my wife, we have a new slogan that we're trying to propagate now, and that's we have to re-love ourselves. And that's one of the main things that is going on in the black community. We were taught self-hatred. So the only remedy to self-hatred is self-love. You know, and I like to go to our ancestor, Frederick Douglass, the great Frederick Douglass, who said it's better to raise strong children than to repair broken men. And so sometimes we spend too much time focusing on older people. Ain't nothing you can do about them. They passed the flower of their age. They've already decided how they want to live their lives. So we have to get our younger boys and girls, and we have to make sure that we are the ones who are controlling their thought pattern. Because when we allow other people to inject their thoughts and their ideals into them, then that's way we can lose another generation like that. And I believe we did that with you know, and I got to say this, even with the image of the white Jesus, you know, because we subconsciously, we wasn't even aware that we was teaching people about Jesus, but we was putting an image next to it. And that image was in the face of our oppressor. So how can God be good in one sense and bad in the other? You know, so we made the mistake, and we got to look at ourselves, and we have to take a bigger stance on making sure that we are teaching our kids the proper, essential things that they need going forward in life. You know, these kids, parenting is pretty horrible in the black community. I'm gonna just say that too. I got to bring that up. Parenting, okay. You see your child leaving out, pants sagging, and different things of that nature, and you don't say anything about that. That don't bother you, okay? You need to tell your child how to dress appropriately going into the public. You already, you already being stereotyped, you know, and there's a stigma against the black male already. So why are these kids getting that far away with wearing their pants sagging down, okay? And they don't have a whole lot to do in the community. And so again, I just want to say, man, we got to get to a place where we're teaching these children self-love while they're young. You know, I went to my nephew's school, and the teacher, my nephew, he was diagnosed ADHD, and which is, not even real, cannot be scientifically proven, okay? And so, you know, I'm talking with the psychiatrists and things of that nature, and you know, he told me my nephew was gonna drop out of school, and you know, because I was taking him out of special education, and a lot of parents don't know these children are getting paid. The schools are getting paid to keep your child in special education, okay? Yeah, the schools are getting paid to keep your child in special education. So I took my nephew out of special ed. They was trying to come up with all kind of different tactics to keep him in there. I said, I'm taking him out, okay? And when they see a strong black man coming in there and showing authority, and that, you know, my nephew wasn't going to be a victim, then they had a different approach on how they wanted to deal with him. So when I took him, before I took him out, the psychiatrist, he said, if you take him out, he gonna drop out in the 9th grade. I say, not on my watch.
Nah, there you go.
Not on my watch, he's not gonna drop out. See, I took the initiative, and I had to show strength, okay? And I'm thinking about, and I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna, you know, my mind just racing. It's going a lot of places.
Keep talking.
Yeah, right. Come on.
My wife tells me all the time, she said, you know, because I watch lions all the time. I'm fascinated by lions. And what I notice about lions, that even when they don't know each other, it could be a different lion pride. They call it prides. Okay? So even though they may not have been born with one another, and they may all be scattered around, but when it comes time for a cause or a prayer, they all unite for that one particular thing that they're trying to accomplish. Black people, I'm speaking to my people right now. I got to make this specific. I'm sorry. We got to unite for this cause of getting out and making sure that we are creating more healthier communities, okay? We got to unite for that, okay? And so that's be like that lion, okay? That unite. Even, guess what? Forget about the other stuff about, what you believe in. Let's forget about all of that stuff that we fight and bicker about that keeps us from uniting. Because this was done a long time ago, okay? This conditioning to make us fight amongst each other about things that don't have nothing to do with what we need to be fighting for, and that's economic opportunity that we need to help better our communities. That's what.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna just plug into this also because he hit a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also the community. Because it's not your child, you're still involved with that child. Because the whole saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
That's it.
Your child is good while he's in front of you. What happened when he leave the porch? And I remember coming up, I was a good child, but when I got off the porch, ain't no telling what I would have did. But there were people like Coach Mims and Coach Ralph Jerome and other people in the neighborhood. I remember the old folks used to sit on the porch with that rotary phone with the long cord. And when I got back home, my mama knew where I had been. If I went somewhere where I shouldn't have been, she knew. And I'm tired of parents just sitting around. If you see a child doing something wrong, tell them they're doing something wrong. Men, step up. If you see a young man doing something, tell him. He may not be your biological child, but you watch him grow up in the neighborhood. Open your mouth. If you see him touching something, hey man, don't touch that. And parents, you can't have it both ways. Don't come and say, hey, don't tell my child. But yet when something happens to your child, you want the community to get involved. So you can't have it both ways. So the whole thing is, the whole community has to become involved. Start opening your mouth. If you see it's wrong, tell them they're wrong. Parents, let other people help you with your child. We here to help, not hurt. But too many times you don't want nobody to tell your child nothing. Here you walk in the house with a big old TV and you don't know where it comes from. Come on, man. You know what's going on. Open your mouths. People in the community, start speaking up. Pull a young brother to, hey man, what's going on? Pull your pants up, bro. Explain the thing about sagging pants. Hey, bro, this is not your bike. Go bring the bike back where you got it from. We have to, as a community, become more aware and start opening our mouths. And I'm sorry, he hit it, and I just had to go into it with it.
So, Coach Rock, I want you to answer something anyway. By you being a coach and you doing summer camps, I know we can't do anything this year, but by you being able to do summer camps, what are some things that you have experienced with the kids?
When I started my first football camp about 3 years ago, a lot of people kind of told me not to do it. The day I picked my camp to do it, I was going to get some heavy hitters. Snoop Dogg had a football camp in Slidell. They had other NFL players doing it. I said, man, ain't no kids going to show up to your camp because I didn't have the name. So my first camp, I think David came out, and it came out. I had 125 kids show up. But I didn't want my camp just to be about football. So I took and I went outside of football. As the kids took water breaks to hydrate, I had David come in. I wanted them to know the aspect of being a Christian athlete. So we went back to drills. After drills, I had police officers come in, Larry Dace and other people come in, and I wanted them to know how to interact with police officers, because every police is not a bad police.
That's right.
And I wanted them to know how to interact with police. So we go back, later on somebody else would come in. I had guys that I went to school with that were successful businessmen come in, because like I tell kids, all y'all not gonna make the NFL. Then even if you do, you're only one hit away from your career being over with.
That's right.
So you got to get education. You got to plug in. So my camp was based off everything outside of football. I even had a guy, Mr. Rod Team, his son played for the Los Angeles Chargers, and I talked to the parents knowing how to conduct yourselves at sporting events and stuff like that, because I wanted these kids to know football is not everything. You have to have a B plan, and all y'all not gonna make the NFL.
Right.
So I wanted them to know how to deal with life outside of football. And the thing with my camp and with Nord has a lot of people that's just there.
That's right.
They're not concerned really about the kids. They're just sitting there collecting money. They're just buying the time so they can retire. Man, we've got to get Nord where we've got to incorporate more money into the programs. And like Brother Eric was saying, Here a kid playing same, he supposed to be in the same rock district, and yeah, he playing way out in the east. You know, we've got to go back to where the kid play in his community, because what happens when he plays in his community, he builds a friendship in the community. You know, they grow up together, they get to know each other, they learn. But you take the kid, just because the coach wants to win, he takes them out the same rock community, he brings them out the east. They don't know each other, and all they do, they play football, and after football, what bond do they have? You know what I'm saying? Parenting at these football games, you know, it has really gotten horrible to where it's cursing.
Yeah.
There's fighting, and it blows my mind, like, because I officiate now. And you have 9-year-old kids playing, and you got parents over here, one part cussing the other parents. And then, so what's the message you're sending to the kid? So if the kid is hearing that on the field, it's building hatred. So what happens is, the hatred that the parents are giving, you're sending it out on the streets. So I think more money has to be allocated toward North, and not just North, but there has to be a resource somewhere in this city that we should have a Boys and Girls Club.
That's right.
Because every kid doesn't play sports. Every kid, we have kids that can cook, we have kids that are musically inclined, can draw, can do all kind of stuff.
That's right.
But yet, there's nothing for them to do. Every kid ain't into sport, but there's nothing for them to do. You know, there's no after-school program. There's nothing. They go to school, they go home. And most of them, believe it or not, go home to broken homes.
That's right.
There's no mother there, there's no father. And you know, the first person that greet them, the dude on the street. He grabs them and he baits them in slowly, and then it becomes the big brother, and he raising them, because we are not doing nothing as a city, as a community, to grab these kids. And it's got to be something that we do as a city to grab these kids. I'm tired of all this politics and all this BS with the politicians. We could take money and find money for every other program, but when it comes to our kids, all of a sudden the city doesn't have the funds. You know, you got one park, they got 5 different uniforms, and then you got another park, the kid comes out there, the pants all tore up, they don't have no equipment. Come on, man, we better than that, and we've got to do better than that. Thank you.
Hey, listen, we'll be right back, man. Listen, we'd like to thank our sponsors of IUBT.net. We would like to thank Barrows. We would like to thank Montreal Hall. And we would like to thank Bayou Bistro. We would like to thank Miss Vanessa J. Rose. We would like to thank Miss Tammy Jenkins, Big Dog Movers, and everybody else that supports IMBT.net. Hey, listen, if you'd like to donate to this show on tonight and help us continue to work in the mission that we are doing, not just in New Orleans, but all across the world. Hey, listen, the information is on the screen, and you guys can donate on tonight. And listen, don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back. everybody. We are back live on today. We want to thank everybody that's tuning in, that's watching us. No matter where you are right now, we want to thank you guys for tuning in on today. Hey, listen, we have Ms. Tashara that's with us on today, and she is a black female business owner. Talk a little bit about being a female and in business.
Well, we are now coming up. We're rising out of ashes as a female and starting our own business and not just living or being in the spot of, the underdog or the backbone. We're having to be in the forefront as mothers, but then as career owners, we are juggling and battling both aspects. It is an honor to be a young entrepreneur and to teach the other young girls that you can, you will, and you must stand on your own and tap into your creativity. I think now during this time, the pandemic has shown us all that we better have more than a 9 to 5.
Right.
Because if not, you will be broke. Okay? So being an entrepreneur in Texas, Grace Tax Express, I am the owner. We're teaching financial literacy because that is something that they took away from schools. We're teaching generational wealth and group economics because that is something they have gotten away from completely. And like Coach said, athletics is not for everyone. What about the females who we can't play football? You understand what I'm saying? We're not going to just continue to cheer on the sidelines. So what is there else for the young girls coming up and growing up to look forward to? You have all of the provocative things, the dancing, the twerking, the stripper pose. You're showing that, but you're not showing the positive aspect of building generational wealth. That is something that, again, they've taken out of schools completely. There used to be a home ec where you were taught, tapped into your creativity to cook. There was, the wood? Carpentry. Even girls took the carpentry, and it was something that was loved. So now we are at Grace Tax Express. We teach financial literacy and group economics, supporting those that look like you, supporting those that support you, and encourage those that are coming up behind you. It is very imperative because these are the very young people that are coming into our community, and they need to have something to look forward to. If we get away from that, if we completely get away from it like they have, like the school system has done, and only teach being a hairstylist or being a football player, then we have nothing. Nothing. We don't teach them how to save money. We don't teach about credit. We don't teach about home ownership. We don't teach about business standing. We don't teach how to even do a proper interview. Because before I became an entrepreneur, I ran a staffing company, minority, Latin community, based in Florida. I was a New Orleans operations manager, and I wanted all African Americans. That's what I wanted for my client. One, Hyatt Regency, want all Latins. One, they work for little or nothing. And two, they're going to work when nobody else does. You know who I had the worst time with? My own. One, they couldn't come in and do a proper interview. They could not dress professionally. They could not speak. They did not have a resume. We've gotten completely away from teaching the children how to stand on their own and even preparing them for the corporate world. Completely. Which leaves them out in the open. If they can't play football, because you just said everybody can't play football, we've left them to the street corner. Because if you don't use the skill that you have, and it's in the Bible, you have a skill set. Your talent will open doors for you and make way for you. You will lose it. Nobody is teaching them to even identify their talent. And once they not identified, they get caught up into what's seen on television. It's easy to be a rapper, so they say. It's easier to become a drug dealer, so they say. But the end of all of that is either you're broke, jail, or dead. But this is our children. And this is where we, as a community, and I'm a mother, as a parent, where we fall off because we don't want anybody to tell our kids. Because we've allowed them to misdiagnose our children with ADHD. We've permitted them to put them on medication, but we never talk about building them up to start their business. We don't talk about it, and that's on us. That's on us as a community. That's on us as a parent. And the reason why I say us, because we send them to school to get the basic education. That's required. trust in them to teach them how to navigate in this world. That's an us issue. So being in business, I had to learn on my own. The generations before me did not have that. It came with trial and error, literally. They didn't teach about credit. They didn't teach that in school at all. So it came with trial and error. And now my responsibility is not only to raise my children and manage my business, but it's to teach and encourage others to get in business. If you have something that you love, make it a business. Even if it's a side business and you just love your corporate job, keep it. Because again, the pandemic has shown us when all else fails, it's going to shut down. How are you going to live after? How are you going to live during? Everybody had to tap into some creativity in order to make some money, because the bills didn't stop. Everybody else still wanted their money, even when your money stopped flowing from your corporate job. So if we don't teach group economics and financial freedom, we fail our own community. Because we are the biggest spenders. We go out and spend with everybody else. In every other community. And others, that's what they call it when you get government assistance. Others, they spend with their own. They're going to purchase homes in your community, purchase a store in your community, meaning ours, and they're going to grow, and they send their money either back home to their country or keep it in their family. No ifs, ands, or buts. We are the only ones that permit ourselves to be okay with going somewhere else and spending top dollar with no problem. And then when here we come with the same business, we get the lack of support.
So let me ask this right fast. When I first started in radio, of course, I was fresh. I was on like 24, 25 years old. Of course, when you first started, you're not going to make a whole lot of money at first. You're still trying to get out there, different things like that. And a guy one time, I would never ever forget this. He was like, "Man, you should leave this radio stuff alone and go work for the city." And I was working at another radio station, so I didn't have my own at the time. And I believe in ownership. I believe in owning anything that I have. That's the reason I'm working towards owning my own home now. But why is it so hard? And why do we talk our people out of starting a business, but the other people, they don't teach, they teach their kids to start a business?
Because we look at the now.
Right.
We don't go back to the history. We are wealthy people. We look at what they have now and think they were millionaires or thousandaires or whatever they are. We think that's who we're supposed to come in with. First of all, it's like a baby. You have to raise your business, cradle your business, grow your business, promote your business, put it out there, and then you will start making money. Sometimes you're going to spend some of your own money.
That's right. But I also think, when we talk about economic wealth, when we talk about generational wealth, when we talk about two of the largest banks in the city, one happen to be owned by an African American, make it very difficult for any of us who want to start business to get it first time start up business loan. And Liberty Bank is one of the largest banks in this city.
In this city, it is.
And it's worked in the top 25 banks across the country. They look like us. They come from our community, and we all bank. The biggest problem with us is that most of us bank at banks that don't even support you. Your business, your future, your idea. Most banks. Most banks. That's the first thing about economic growth. When we talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, when Black Wall Street was what it was, the only reason they disrupted that and destroyed it because they created a lie because it was doing so well. They spent where they lived and where they supported and where they laid their head. We misconceived the idea of what King was talking about in the civil rights movement. See, King wasn't talking about equity, that we had the opportunity just to go everywhere. That was the availability. He still didn't say abandon what you were doing prior to being able to sit. And in places where you wasn't wanted. But it didn't mean for you to abandon what you were doing. He just was trying to create equity and access. We don't have equity and access. Even in schools, we don't. But when I listen to how we identify and we point out our deficiencies, our flaws as parents and parenting, how our kids have visuals that they can't even grasp at right now, right? But that is the only thing giving them positive message. Because everything we do about any child in school, the first thing we tell a child in school, if they're having challenges in school, we pinpoint their bad behavior. Every one of us who ever been educated. Matter of fact, we got to a point at some point where we stab children before they get to the next teacher.
Right.
We perpetuate assumptions and insinuations about a child that gave you a challenge. And then when we're in the room staffing these kids, we say, oh God, I'm so glad you're getting this year. You're going to give you hell this year because I had it. Opposed to letting that person meet Johnny for the very first time and examining Johnny for their relationship and their relationship only. So that's the first mistake we make in children, white children, because we pinpoint and we point fingers. So even when we tell them, you ain't at the age of I think maybe I use my own personal life as an example. I had a college director who was over a program, a prestige program. You couldn't even get in if you didn't have a grade. Told me in a hallway of a dormitory at a white university that I was going to amount to nothing. A black man that looked like me. Now that's a challenge because you're looking at him and say, well, he must have fortune teller, future teller. He knew. You got just like they told you, if you take him out, he's going to end up not. They tell us that. But then if I go to now other folk, like you said, tell you that. But when I go to my folk who look like me and telling me that, when you talk about coaching and talk about abusive language, well, I've been around coaches who cuss kids. Yeah. I've been around coaches that call them all kind of things and say that is because it's an aggressive sport. But also been around places where coaches didn't cuss their kids, and they still played an aggressive sport. So I mean, this stuff is situated where the way we commit to a conclusion of what we're going to become and what we're going to do, and who we help, it's always a price tag. If you start a business in life, you know what I was thinking just now? I have connection to a majority of the schools in this state. They don't have it in the curriculum. You know what, mine? I'm getting ready to write a policy for you because that should be in the curriculum. That's what but I'm not sitting over there and somebody on the radio saying who she thinks she is. Those comments happen.
Yes, they do.
And they happen among us.
Yes, right.
We do it ourselves. But I'm sitting over there saying, oh man, homeownership, starting a business, that ain't even in the state standards. We got 5 graduation pathways. 5. And one of them is entrepreneurship. And we don't even tell children that when they enter high school that they can go to that process, right? So we gotta, like you said,
that's what I'm saying. It's accountability first.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You say they say, one look like us, you're bad, you're disruptive, you're all of these things. Okay, maybe I am. But what do you want to do to disrupt that bad behavior and deposit some positivity? First off, one, I have to acknowledge I was disrespectful to Coach. So he probably told you I was disrespectful. So when you come, you're going to take a different approach because you don't want to see me. You don't want to see that part of me. Okay? Because I probably did come from a broken home. I probably do have some anger. But I was disrespectful, so he told it to you. He told it to you. He told it to the staff. So you strategically planned.
Yeah.
And they put all us with you. But you took a different approach as the teacher, as the head. Why? Because it was important for you to make that difference. In school, I've had some teachers that made that difference. Even when I did not want to. They continued to speak positivity into me. So even when I was angry, I remember that. Because not all of us come from a positive home.
But you see it's shifting now. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The culture of school today are not majority of people that look like the children. So I can guarantee you that when he was at that school, whatever it was, I can guarantee you, if not close to it, that the psychiatrist, the social worker, and the person did not look like that child. You know why I know that? Because the biggest bulk of our teachers now do not look like the children we're teaching. Period. And that's something we have to hold fast to. You cannot. This culture here today with these children are not the same culture as was a decade ago when you was in school. It's not the same. So we can't just brush it under the blanket, because now the schools are different. The teachers are different. The culture is different. Every school got a different culture. Every school got a different mission. Every school got a different idea, which means it's independent school district
But what
running their
about
own.
the neighborhood?
So, but
That's what we talk about.
no,
What about the
but here's the thing. No, and they was not welcome into the school. And these kids who come into the neighborhood don't live in those neighborhoods. Like, for instance, Robert E. Lee School, wherever it's in Kelton. Let's say that one used to be Robert McNair. Let's say it's Kip School. The kids who go there, they bust. 98% of our kids who go to any school in this city are bused across the town. Kids, y'all want to talk about why kids are proud? They get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
They only bus 2.5 hours before they get to school.
That's right.
Then they sit in the school, they only get 2 hours of learning. Then make sure you understand it. Then they leave school, and they still on the bus 3.5 hours. When they get home, it's 8:30. You wanna know why they're frustrated? Let me tell you why they're frustrated. Wanna know why they're angry? They ain't sleeping. They ain't resting. They ain't eating properly.
That's it.
So, not to mention the broken homes and all that. So we gotta take a different approach. First of all, we gotta make sure, guess what? We gotta change the way the system looks.
Absolutely.
You talk about Norwood? Norwood shouldn't even have a problem when we got almost 170 plus schools here with gymnasiums. You want to talk about the Boys and Girls Club? They got one. They got one right by Ahawk. The Boys and Girls Club, yeah, Boys and Girls Club. Do we have one in these? No. Do we have one across the river? No. Ain't like we can't get one. But until those people who are representing us, who reflect us, held accountable for us, here's the thing. When we allow people to run for public office, we call them candidates. When they get elected, we call them celebrities. That's a problem. Somebody told me the other day, man, you such and such gonna meet with you. You ought to be happy. No, I'm not. They should be happy they're meeting with me. I'm the voter.
Yes.
I'm their boss. They work for me. So I don't have to be excited they want to meet with me. They should be excited that I accept the meeting with them. We got to change the approach. When we talk about accountability, it can't be a drive-by accountability.
That's it.
It can't be an easy-way accountability. It's got to be a demand. Because the same way they're banging on your door, begging for you, coming into a protest, coming into your community, promising you all these broken promises, and then we don't hold them accountable. They promised all our children that we're going to go to the top 10 schools. You keep hearing the same thing. We're growing. We're getting better. You can't grade something successful to something failing. Our kids can't get tops. Our kids ACT scores are low. Our kids not going to get in anybody college because we, not the parents, let me be clear, not the parents, we, people like us who understand the dynamics, got to be bold enough to take a stand and say enough is enough. I'm the worst person. I'm more criticized than anybody in the city. I've been called on the tone. You can get on it. You can get on. Just get on it.
Yeah.
Just get on it. But you know what I don't do? I don't respond to it. I've not been on one social media because I'm not going to deny or disrespect or tell something about a black person that looks like me, because when I talk about you, I'm talking about me. It's in my DNA. So I'm going to always lift you up. I'm always elevated. But I'm the worst person. I'm the worst Uncle Tom. I'm the self. And I should be a millionaire, they say. None of that I have. I can have any school I want. I refuse because I'm costly. I'm priceless. We're all priceless. But until we, all of us, take a stand. Again, he mentioned something that's profound. No, but guess what? They got another year election. You don't have to wait till the election day to start moving people. One thing I like about Arlene Parish now, them 7 people that's running, or the 3 that bailed out and the 4 that's still there, that's what they're worried about, unseated. Because you can take their jobs from them. Don't take any more problems. They've done nothing. They've done nothing. Yo, this ain't no life getting nobody picking up on that. Guess what? I promise you somebody's gonna be hearing about that. Noah,
Now, let me just say this about Noah.
That's what we know.
There's a new director.
I know who he is. I know that.
Larry's a good guy. But it's the people.
No, but we're not knocking that. What we're knocking is a commission.
Yeah.
See, we got to understand the dynamics. It's ain't about a person. They got a commission. If they privatized Northern, let's look historically why Northern ain't a community no more. When Mill was coaching us, we had night out on the park, family night, all that stuff. Let's be clear now. Let's be clear. So at this point, when you privatize something, you dictate the outcome of it, because you have no control over it anymore. That's a fact.
I mean, because here's the thing, I have 2 small sons that play for North. It's their first year, 7 and 8. It was the worst experience ever. Now, the park was great. The coach was awesome. Brian Powell, come from Old Perry Walker, pillar of the community. He get out with the children. But North, my uncle is a coach for Press Park, Coach Pro, been coaching for forever. The worst organization to be around.
Can I ask you a humble question?
Yes.
Did you write him?
Yes,
Now,
I did.
Now watch this.
Matter of fact, he was at the track.
No, I'm saying I'm talking to the commission.
No.
That is number 1. Now watch this, number 2. You could do a petition in your community that changed the whole game. See, we keep celebrating Black Lives Matter, and we should. But let me tell you what made a significant impact to Black Lives Matter. Because their death across way before the honorable young man, George Floyd. You had 10, 15 prior to that. You know the difference? The millennial white people. You know why? The difference between a gunshot wound and a choke is like lynching. You understand what I just said to y'all? See, when you took the breath out of somebody, because everybody else got shot, they didn't come dead. Senseless killing. Brutal. Shot in the back. Just anything. Just shot while you're running. The difference between this, you hung him. You took the life out of him while he was still alive. And white folks saying across this country, I dare you, that's like comparing to what? Lynching. That's what they're saying. So now they're taking the statues, throwing them in the lake. Now the movement has changed. But it's the same thing with the others. They died senseless and wrongfully. We got to hold these people in our communities more accountable to what they're promising. And then if you don't, you can change it by petitions. You can change it by petitions. That's what matters. People. Numbers. Ever want to have impact? Get numbers.
So the Black Lives, that was the next topic we were going to talk about anyway. I want to know why our police not just afraid of the grown-ups, but why they're so afraid of the young people.
Well, it's simple. They come in afraid. Understand this. You don't have to have an education to have a badge. You barely have to have training now.
Right.
You used to have to go through a physical training process. You had to take a test. You had to have a certain level of mental capacity to become an officer of the law. You don't have to do any of that. They can be fresh out of high school with no life coping skills. So when you have people, and again, it's the narrative as well. It's the narrative as well. We strong, we this, we all of these things. When you have people coming fresh out of their corporate world and just trying to find a job, they came in with fear. So if they're coming in with fear, and the narrative is you're strong, what you think I'm gonna do? We'll shoot first and ask questions later. I ain't got to battle you. I'm scared already. So at the very end of the day, Black Lives Matter, 100%. But we have to matter to us. Meaning we have to fight beyond when they kill us, and we have to still stand in that same fight when you kill us, or when not even kill, when you hurt us, when you misrepresent yourself for our community, when you're misrepresenting yourself to get something that you need from me. It has to matter equally and around the board, because at the very end of the day, it's still happening to us in our very community, the private level, the economic growth. It all still happening to us. So here's the thing, I don't have to be dead physically to be dead.
We have to respect each other. I think the key is you look at police officers. I don't know how old you guys are, but we had officer friendly. We had community police. Listen, every police you named that you talk, you knew him. He wasn't no stranger to you. You went and got that guy. You know you knew that guy when he came talk. You didn't just call him up. Stop. You knew him.
And that's the truth. I said that.
If I could speak to what you just said, I could recall I grew up in the Desire Project, and I had my coaches was Officer Lucky and Officer Gray back in the days, and I never forget the first crime that I committed was joyriding, and I went to hanging with the wrong crowd. You know, they tell you that when you're a kid, and then when you experience it, then after you come out, you realize, oh, okay, that's what you was talking about, kind of deal. So, I played football and everything in the Desire community, and I never forget it. When I committed this crime, the police got behind us. We hopped out the cars, and we all ran in different directions. And I ran under the house. They ran wherever they ran. And when the police, approached us, thankfully, it was my football coach. But he had his gun out. He said, "Put your hands up." I put my hands up, and he said, "Henry?" And I said, "Coach Lucky?" He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know. I'm just hanging with the wrong crowd. I guess I don't know." And so he brought me to the car. They handcuffed me, and I went to jail for that. But I said that to say that when he seen me, he didn't see me as a threat. He just saw me as a kid making a mistake. And so, a lot of these polices that come into our community, they don't have they can't identify with us because they don't know nothing about you. And that's why community policing is so important. Because if you come into a neighborhood and a guy is dealing with mental issues, you're not thinking about killing him. You making de-escalate it, talk him down, And so these police officers have to be taught how to truly de-escalate situations and not always resort to pulling out their weapons. And again, we do need to not only just say, okay, yeah, we say Black Lives Matter, but then we got an issue with popularizing Black death in music. Every rap song, they talking about killing this one and killing that one. Okay, shoot up him, shoot face ourselves before we could ever get anybody else to love us. Man, people got to see we truly love ourselves first. Okay, but in a narrative about we don't care about those things. When I look back, I remember the Stop the Violence marches and stuff. Black people have always cared about, living in communities that was peaceful. We've always cared about that. We had just started, speaking this language. We've been crying out for thousands of years about the stuff that happened. It's just that we have a lack of resources. And that's what causes us to, we just grew numb to all that murder. You just grow numb to, you like, oh man, that's another murder. You don't want to feel that way, but what could you do? You don't have the power a lot of times to affect the change that you want to, unless through voting, like he said, and those different things. And we need to teach our children to become police officers. You want better community? Become dealing with only ourselves at all times. See?
That's right.
And then a question I impose: do police really want crime to stop in our neighborhoods?
That's a good question.
Because the thing is, in our neighborhoods, you have police sitting at Burger King, sitting on the side of the road.
Come on.
If me and David police and we work a certain precinct, why we can't ride through that neighborhood? I see you every day. I build a relationship with you. I see you standing on the corner. I know who's standing on the corner. Then the kids know these police as they're riding around. We can talk to these people. They can, what's wrong with the police getting out and say, hey, how y'all doing today? What's going on? You see the people in the community. But it's a money-making thing also in the criminal justice system. And they're not looking to stop crime. Y'all know, as soon as somebody gets shot, here they come. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Where at the rest of the day, they're just sitting around. When they could be riding through the neighborhoods, like you say, officer friendly, and all these coaches, they're not doing that no more. They're just somewhere where they ain't got no business, making money, and waiting on a crime or something to happen. Then they all come running with their note, their paper and pencil, taking notes, and they act like they're concerned. But where you at the rest of the day? Sit in the office?
And then sometimes it take maybe even 2 weeks even for the police to show up after they report it. Maybe
But
2 weeks.
historically, though, when we talk about that. In the last 10 years, in the last 15 years, so y'all know historically, we've had 5 black police chiefs. When you look at your city council, majority of city council. You look at your school district, we talk about how kids are doing. A majority black school district with a majority black leadership. So that ain't gonna happen in the Jewish community. Let's make sure y'all understand something. That's not gonna happen in the Asian community. They're going to make sure that their culture, their leadership, their vision and their mission go all tie in together. We're leading the voice in this city. Like we're leading the voice in education, we're leading the voice in governance, and government, and we're also leading the voice in crime, in police safety. So what this hold on, my wife is, so at the end of the day for us, even when we talk about COVID-19, how kids, we don't know, they're not even on the same page. The school district in the mayor of the city is not even on the same page, and majority of the children are African American children. They, not the governor, because governor got no power other than the MFP dollars. He can't come into another municipality. The problem with the cities, we got 2 different municipalities. We got a city municipality and we got a school district municipality. Y'all. So they all have they all control their own government. So until they sit down together and say this was the best for our children and the families that determine, because we don't know how to go back, or even set tone as relates to how we're going to work with the police department, that's a problem. So we could talk about children like this, why they ain't doing this, why they can't do this, why they not getting this, why they get that. The people that's in charge look like them same children we're talking about. They look exactly like those same children.
Let me say one more thing. And with that being said, a lot of black people that are in positions, that's by design. That is, that is systematically set up to give us this false illusion that we run something. That we in charge of something. But when you look at the machine and the program behind all of the standards and policies that they put in place, black people are not the ones writing that stuff in.
Controlling your vote. Everybody you just talked about are voted by the people. Listen to what I'm saying. Everybody. There are very few people are permanent. Majority of the people that's in position to make an impact or difference are voted by the people. Majority of the people in the African American community vote for people based on relationships and not accountability.
But black people have been voting since the 50s and nothing's changed.
But back then, when you look historically, there were more economic wealth, there were more invested interests. When you go back historically, and I've had, in the last couple of days, I've been watching the documentary and the funeral service of John Lewis. And it has changed my life tremendously in the last 3 or 4 days. Because up until 3 or 4 days, I never knew I wanted to even do anything reluctantly to running for public office or anything other than because I could do more work outside of being handcuffed. And I've done more work not as an elected official than an average elected official done in this city. I can assure you that. But it's because I was compelled to do it from my calling. But what I learned about John Lewis at 14 and 15 and 16 and then at 23, King didn't get beat. King didn't cross that bridge and get beat. When King didn't walk across that bridge, they wasn't beaten to be done. When John Lewis walked across that at 23, he got stumped, beaten, half killed.
Yes.
It's a difference. And what he said to me that made sense. They actually said, when you see, this is this famous quote that we all have lived. He said, when you see something not right, not fair, not just, we have a moral obligation to do something about it. Speak out loud. So what am I saying? When we talk about what parents don't know, because we can't see, we got one generation gap is we had babies raising babies. We had grandparents raising the same children y'all talking about. In a different century, and a different gap. So you asking a 14-year-old who had a baby to understand what she don't understand, and to raise a child that she ain't been raised? That's what this generation have right now. Babies raising babies. That's the one thing. So when we look at how we address that, the only power we have is what he said on his dying bed. The only precious thing you have in any movement, in the civil rights movement, is the right to vote. Because that's the only thing going to get their mind right.
But like you
And it
said,
doesn't happen.
we've been doing that, and we put ones that look like us in place, and yet those that we put in place by the vote, failed.
In the 80s, not in the 60s, not in the 50s, because
I know.
those people who got elected were doing stuff. I just don't want misconceived.
No.
Tell them when we talk about early on, that's what they. But when we talk about these modern day elections, those are the ones that are not doing. Because in the 60s, it wouldn't be a march like the political people. John Lewis and Elijah Cummings, all those people fought even at legislature. Matter of fact, sitting on the federal congressional floor fighting for what was right. But here's the thing: until we get these modern day folk that you say are already handcuffed, and the reason handcuffed because they take the money from people. If you can't invest $10 in the election, and this person that's controlling it invest $1,000 in the election, what are they gonna listen to?
So let me ask you this about the part about, you emphasizing this voting thing, but when you think about, the fact that we only 13% of the population, and the thing that comes to my mind is what percentage of that of convicted felons. So, when you talk about voting and you talk about, our ability to fight back, voting to me is not a demand. And I think about what Martin Luther King said. He said, we learn through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. And so voting to me is like saying, it's like you're hoping that something changes, and we've already seen through history that voting does not change anything in the black community.
That's maybe a misconception. So let me make sure you understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying, the cause of voting, the pain that they took was for that purpose. The right to vote was how they got people. They wasn't fighting for abuse on their civil rights. They went to march in Selma because they wanted the right to vote, because it was earned. That's what the black folk did there. So they didn't just go there because they couldn't get on buses. When they went to Selma, it was about the right to vote. Period. Nothing else. When they went to Memphis, it was something else. When they went to Hobart, it was something else. But Selma, it was about the right to vote. There's always been the right to vote. What King was also saying, it may be a privilege or it may not, but it's a mandate. So when we talk about mandating pain, I'm not saying that we should believe that our vote doesn't count. That's what I'm pushing. I think that what we miss in that is once they're elected, we don't hold them accountable. That's the gap. Like, you think about all of us when we talk about what they should do. Well, that's a mayor's decision.
So what do you oppose? Okay, you said we don't hold them accountable. How? We don't hear about, and I'm in the community. Listen, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
You say petition.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you go sign? Because you don't hear about the locations.
No,
They constantly
sign where?
petitions.
No,
How
you
get
start
them
your own.
started?
No, you start your own.
How do
petition.
you get
Yeah,
them
that's what
started
we're-
when
right.
there's nowhere to send them? Where do they? Yes.
Yeah, they-
Where do they go? When are the city hall meetings and all of these things to go and speak in front of the board? None of this stuff is advertised. It's not put out there.
It's really advertised. They just put it
Where?
this way.
When on one channel of the television, it get lost through the cable
No,
station.
it's advertised. Faithfully advertised. But what I'm saying in terms of
Whatever change that's going to take place in the black community is going to come by way of demand. And that's just, you have to be demanding about the change that you want to see, no matter what it takes, because it's just to the point now where we are so far behind. We don't have time to ask no more.
No.
We too far behind to be asking somebody to do anything. We got to demand it. Right.
But this is what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that. I don't want to mislead people that your vote should be the most sacred thing, or your vote should be the most
No, but it is.
But it is. But what I am saying is this: even in the process of demand, politics prevent you from even getting what you're asking for. Even in the fight, even in the struggle, even in the beatdown, even in all of that stuff, it doesn't get anything other than what you get as you get in that moment. And here's the thing: most people who demand stuff or tell their cities up to do whatever, then you gotta restore the city back, right? You gotta do all that stuff. So we could burn, we could tear, we could do all of those things. And like right now, we know education is not right in the city. We could burn every school down. We could ride and picket every school. But I remember when we was fighting for the merger not to happen. And I also remember when we was fighting that they ought to have two separate schools and you should give those people that money. I remember marching from Old Perry Walker to Berman Gym and Berman Park. Remember all of that stuff. At the end of the day, I watched a young man lose a job, was blackballed in the city, couldn't get anything from the city, and nobody who he started out with were rallying behind him at that point. And what I'm saying is, if we're gonna make these changes in terms of how schools should look for children, why children should change the way they believe, I agree. We need to create parenting skills. And let me tell you, we shouldn't try to make them come. We should go where they are.
Exactly.
And the problem is sometimes we want to create places where them come and they can't get there. They don't translate. They don't have any of that, right? You look at a board meeting. The board meeting, they don't talk about children at 12 o'clock at night. When the order of business should be here. You follow what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is that if all we have is to remove people who are making policy, is the power to vote. Because other than that, you can't. When she elected, you can't take them out until that, unless they've done something drastically bad to do that. And it's the same thing trying to go in there and remove a principal or somebody who's just violated your child and think that's going to happen because they got a board that they selected on their own. See, we have independent boards. These boards are permanent. So you can't go in there telling me you want to change when the board, when they handpick their boards. Like, these are all my friends. What board member you think gonna hold them accountable?
So I have a Facebook friends with a young lady you already want to follow, Dr. Shanta Watts. And she brought that to the light for the community. So here's the thing. My children go to the Inspire Middle School. They go to LSR. And it wasn't until she put it out what was going on behind the scenes. He's right. The school boards and these organizations are privately owned. They're privately funded. I don't know if it's by their own pocket or my money. I don't know.
You know that's state money.
Listen, I know that
you work, you pay taxes.
Yes.
The MFP dollars come from the state. That's tax. Minimum foundation fund. That's your money. Everybody who pay tax, that's your money.
So when she brought this out to the attention, this is the problem. Nobody brings awareness, one, until they are upset. That's the first thing. And then two, if you're in position, you've been bought out. You're making that money, so it doesn't matter. Until we start putting forward, you in politics. I'm so happy I met you today. I never heard about you. I'm from LG.
You should have.
I never.
Okay. You know Derek Lamont?
Yes, Coach
Okay,
Skip.
that's my
I know
cousin.
Coach Skip. Okay, well I know Coach Skip.
Yeah.
I know your cousins. Coach Skip been talking about this Landry Walker thing for months. Okay, but you didn't hear about this when Inspire Nola came. We just heard that it came. We thought it was a part of the school board until we started knowing, researching. It's not in the forefront, and I fought you. Let me tell you why. Because I'm a regular old citizen, okay?
Get in line.
Okay, I'm a regular old citizen. Politics is not my thing. If I expect you, since you know, to come and educate me. I do. Because I don't know. Ball head Skip. Head coach, because he might be on there. He was a coach at Walker as well as Landry.
Mm-hmm.
But he always brought it to us. Coach Byron Wilson. They brought things to us. We don't know. And until people in position, I give you your props. until people in position start bringing this information to the community, bringing it back, we don't know. You're saying do it. That's why I'm saying all that to say when you say do a petition, some of us don't know how, where to send it.
Well, the part of
how
what you haven't said either is that even that wonderful person, Dr. Shanti Wright, they blackballed her for no reason.
They did.
So I'm just telling you. So
They did.
So when you fighting a cause, let me just tell you that when we all fight a cause, because we've been doing it for many years. But remember now, I'm an independent person now, which means I don't work for a district anymore. I know what to do for myself.
When I say I fought you, I just meant because you have not.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying to you, because what will happen is this: you're going to get when you take a stand. And the person I was talking about, that blackball was Skip. He had 2 kids in college. They destroyed him for
But
men.
listen,
And-
Coach Skip bought it to us. Ashanta Watson,
Yes,
she bought
yes,
it to us.
but-
Not many people bring
But
it.
now, and it costs. So
And I'm expecting to bring it.
and we always bring it. But again, that's why I'm the most talked against in this city. I promise you. Google me and you'll see it. But again, I get it. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it because what I'm saying now that I've never known before. If we don't be the change, whether I run for public office or not, because look, I've been in education for 30+ years. It doesn't invest and interest me anyway. I've served 3-4 superintendents. It doesn't even matter to me what happens. I work for children. My employment is children. My employment has never been the district. I work for children. So the only thing I can be fired is by children. So I've worked a lot with that. But at the end of the day, if we, and it's the first time I realized, if we don't take a stand, did I want to run for? No, not after. No, because when I was helping people get elected, thinking I'm the kingmaker, you make a call, they won't even come and do anything. We got a person that serves on this state board, out at the state level, and had the opportunity as the chair of the state board to appoint a black superintendent, and you appoint a white racist. How you gonna be the? But I was a kingmaker. Helped to get elected. So who do you think is responsible? Me. So now I'd rather go get elected. And if you're going to blame me for what you're blaming me for, then you need to blame me while I'm in a position.
But
It
that's
makes
the
sense.
thing. You get in position. You all know. Ashanta, she got in. They didn't like her because she spoke, but she brought it back to us.
Yeah.
So it was a better understanding. I told her, start your own school. They do it for private schools all the time. How much you need? We gonna back you. You said it's funded privately. What you need? I'm gonna put out what I have in my pocket every tax year. But I'm saying all that to say that knowledge that you have coming up. You say history coming up. There were only a few people bringing it back. Coach Skip being one.
You don't train him.
You.
Me.
Well, then you should have came back
And I did.
before they were releasing
Why you think it was Crossfield fight? He fought at Crossfield for 8 years on this.
But see,
Call for the same thing. How do you think these schools maintain it? Those schools maintain because of that. All I'm saying is the only thing I promise you that we have any power with is petitions. It's keeping them out of there or removing them. Or the same thing will happen. That's insanity. You keep electing the same people. That's insanity. That's crazy. They're not going to move unless we change it. But we have to change it. We have to get these people in their city. You're not holding. You hold that. I mean, if Alice Hart, Inspire Nola's school where you at now, where's that? Alice what? Alice Hart. If they didn't, listen, one thing I know about them parents, if they didn't do what was right by those children, y'all gonna be in that building.
Hey, listen, we have to take a quick break, but listen, we want to thank Jones Connections all the way from Columbus, Georgia. We want to thank you guys for being a sponsor on today. Hey, listen, if you would like to donate to the show, you can on Cash App, $Big T 0891, or if you'd like to advertise on our network, on our TV show, on our radio station, you can shoot us an email, younganthony829@yahoo.com. We'll be right back.
all the bad things about him.
You know why? It's simple.
Cause he needs to be, well, yeah, chief.
No,
Be
Ed,
fair.
and I are good friends.
He's awesome.
Eddie Campos and I, when he got to be superintendent, if you know him, like you say, you said, it was I who told the mayor-elect that Eddie Campos should have been the police chief. Let me tell you why I say that. Because Eddie Campos was doing community police before anybody was doing it. He was in the Iberville project, housing project, when he started community policing. He was the first, he was a lieutenant and then a captain at that time. He brought community policing to that community. And then when it was time to name a police chief, I remember it was at the same church. We actually attended the same church at that time. And I said, you're going to be the next police chief. He said, man, I don't believe. I said, you're going to be the next police chief. And there's no way they're going to pick over you. Well, a good friend of mine was the mayor at that time. And I brought it to him. I said, listen, if you want to change crime on your watch, and I can't make that decision for you, so come make a record. I think he's a guy. I think he can take community policing to every housing development, because they had to build that relationship. When Katrina hit, and Eddie was doing all of what he was to do as police chief, and as people try to paint this picture of somebody neglecting this dude is a neglected. It's the same thing they told the teachers, who, by the way, the state, along with Governor Blanco, Michi rest in peace, and the union, which looked like the people that they're serving now, cut a deal and made hundreds of thousands of dollars as it relates to them teachers being fired. But you're right. You know, there were people, so that you know, who fought. He'll tell you, I was one of them, and many others. Skip was one of them. There were multiple on the fight to save his job. He'll tell you that to this day. But we couldn't. We didn't own the media. See, the biggest problem was we didn't own the media. Like this gentleman getting ready to get a media. You know, Troy Henry and them just bought WBOK, so y'all need to know that. We got the first black radio station in this city now, owned by Troy Henry, Wendell Pierre. But I got you.
So then we need to know this.
But
I'm a black-owned radio station.
No, what I'm saying, I'm talking about a network that can. I'm not. I'm not a person. You could check any reference. I don't do social media. I don't go on. I've been, but I've been on conversations where people would say, you know, what do you think about this person? Well, here's what I think about anybody. They're brilliant. They're genius. It's like I told her, you're capable, and what they're doing to her is absolutely wrong.
Absolutely.
And I was saying it. But at the end of the day, people want me to take a stand because of what they said about me. What they said about me is an opinion.
Correct.
Doesn't mean it has facts. I'm not going to get on and validate to what them people wanted to do is right. So it was very.
Now that's a flip side to that.
It was very.
Here's the problem. If I see something happen to you, it already happened to me. Because here's the thing. At some point, if we walking down the same path, I will be in your shoes. It's bad that we wait until something happens to us personally to then want to fight. We should have fought when it was happening to you.
You know when they blackballed her? You know when the first person called it to get the interview? Me. So you know.
I met somebody.
And she knows that. She knows that. And I still to this day believe.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Big T, and we are back. Once again, we want to thank all of our sponsors, and we want to thank everybody that tuned in on today, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, listen, we want to give a chance for our wonderful panel to go ahead and have their final words on today.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that's on this panel, Ms. Gray, Brother Eric, Prevail, for coming and sharing this with me. This has been a passion of mine. The kids of New Orleans, man. Parents, coaches, community, teachers, preachers, we've got to do better for our kids, man. Our kids are our most precious resources, and our kids are dying too fast and not reaching any potential. So I'm just reaching out to the city of New Orleans. We better, man. We're a better city, we better people. We've got to love on each other. We've got to be there for each other. And I'm always go back to that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And it takes all of us, man. All of us have to get involved with these kids. We have to give these kids ways, resources, and things to do. So please, the city of New Orleans, follow up, stay with this, man. Reach out to the kids, love the kids, be there for the kids, show compassion. Not just your kid, but every kid. So again, thank this panel, thank Anthony Young, thank Brother David, Reverend David Christopher, thank everyone who shared this idea with me, and hopefully we'll do a follow-up. So again, New Orleans, we better, we can do better.
I would like to take this opportunity to just say how much I appreciate it and how much I value this night. I want to thank this young, energetic entrepreneur, radio guru who has, and his staff, who has constantly, with low budget or no budget, continue to find ways and pathways, airwaves to communicate the issues that concern the community. As a lifelong career educator, it just gives me joy to see that the legacy of teachers, the legacy of educators, the legacy of people who are concerned about their community make a huge impact on seeing young people keep this journey and this dream and our hopes alive. I want to give a special thanks to this space for dialogue. I've met people tonight, particularly the young lady you're getting ready to hear from, who owns her own business, who's teaching life skills, home ownership skills, financial literacy skills, skills that's been absent for quite some time. And to be a pioneer and a jump starter to bring back what these schools once had and once needed. I just applaud that. And have an opportunity to speak to this artist. He was phenomenal in expressing, what parenting is about and how do you not defend but define the character of a child, and discussing the landscape of what education really means, and sustaining, why it's so important that we spend majority of our time trying to figure out why it's necessary to not just raise the next generation, but to guide them and to direct them, both male and female. And just how significant that is. I'm just humble. I'm grateful to be granted this opportunity, and thank you that you are taking the initiative. And I'm not a prophet, but I just want to encourage and prophesize to you that your journey has just begun. Your destiny is beginning to be fulfilled. And all the people that have worked with you, worked alongside you, are getting ready to see something that they've never seen before. And I encourage you to remain humble, seek humiliation, embrace it. Embrace it. Because this is your time. And it's going to be a time where you can enhance the landscape of what's necessary and what is to be told, what needs to be told. And so this gave me a space to meet people and to express dialogue, and hopefully everybody that's listening to all of this will get an opportunity to say they were part of something that's connected and engaged, the information that's needed. And I hope that every child, of every parent that's watching this live streaming, or any participant in the community, or anybody that has any relationship or any involvement, that it takes heed to every word that was said tonight. Embrace it with open-mindedness, embrace it with love, courage, and know that we all in this together. And I echo my friend, as much as it takes a village to raise a child, I just want to add something to it. It takes a community to save a child. Thank you.
Coach L, I want to thank you for inviting me. I have met some wonderful people. See, I'm going to do some business. And I am going to be calling you to find out what's going on. But I want to encourage my community to speak up and speak out. When we know something is happening to one of us, it's happening to all of us. And now is the time to not only hold ourselves accountable, but now we know we have places to go to find a resolution to our problem. I want to say to the parents who don't have anywhere for their children to go, there is an organization on the West Bank here in the LGS community, Heroes of New Orleans. Mr. Gregory is doing great things for those children in the community, for our children in the community. Reach out. There is support. Mr. Ed has already said there's a Boys Girls Club. So now we know we have resources. Let's use them. He also stated that we need to vote. So stop saying we don't need to and it doesn't matter. We have to do more in order to get the change that we so desperately seek. Now is the time, and let's make sure we do just that.
Listen, we want to thank everybody that tuned in once again. Hey, listen, remember, if you want to donate to our network, you can on Cash App, $Big T 0891, or if you like to advertise, shoot us an email, younganthony829@yahoo.com. Hey, listen, we getting ready to get up out of here for the day, but listen, one thing, our panel once again for being a part on the show. Hey, listen, taking us out on today, Prevail. Make sure you guys stay locked and stay tuned.
Man, I need you.
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 Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. So many people lost, they can't discern the time. So worried about their own lives, they're not concerned with mine. You on your own, you on your own, don't cross the gun line. They say I don't know you, so I'm only telling you one time. You don't see me as your brother, so you will kill me quick. While the other man sitting back, he getting filthy rich. Now that's just filthiness, the way we kill our own. And it's a disgrace when another man is on your throne. When you see me, homie, you should see yourself. You ever thought about how Malcolm X felt? He died by somebody who looked just like him. So I learned to keep my eyes on my next of kin. Oh yeah, the closest ones, they the most dangerous. You kill another black man, you bringing shame to us. You on the angel dust, cause you ain't thinking right. And when you have them thoughts, you should be thinking twice. Now put your hands together, cause we in concert. We need each other, homie, even though these times hurt. Now put your hands together, cause we in concert. We need each other, homie, even though these times hurt. And if you never love me, then you can start now. Give me a hug, brother, and let our hearts pound. And if you never love me, then you can start now. Give me a hug, brother, and let our hearts pound. Man, we all need each other.
That's right, we need each other.
Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other.
Queens, adjust your crown, stop putting yourself down. Black is so beautiful from every shade, light and brown. Queens, adjust your crown, stop putting yourself down. Black is so beautiful from every shade, light and brown. To all my strong queens, let's put our hands together. Yeah, these times hard, but we all need each other. To my strong queens, let's put our hands together. Yeah, these times hard, but we all need each other.
Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, we all need each other. Man, you my sister, you my brother. Man, we need each other.
Thank y'all.
Our Cash App, if y'all would like to leave a donation, Cash App, Artist Prevail, and
Official Jay Insight, you can find us on there. Yours truly.
we need each other, y'all.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in on tonight. Make sure you guys share the broadcast.